Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Anvil. Today we are joined by Dr. Robert Garcia of Garcia Global Media, also author, publisher, producer of Shift Magazine, and Garcia Grill. Right now we're going to turn over to Robert to introduce himself as I back out of the NPR voice.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike. This is an honor. I've seen the show in the past and the great guests you had, and when I got the invite, I was very excited to do this.
Yeah,
So,
we've only been trying to get you on here for about a year now, so.
yeah. Sorry, something about freedom and unasked for Air Force assignments. You know how it
Right.
goes.
No. Well, I started this. Actually, we're coming up almost on the 1 year anniversary of starting the podcast next month. I set my goal out to start it, go for a year, reevaluate it, and then go from there. So I'm almost completed that goal.
Love
Um,
it.
so we're going to dive into it. Again, we're off the cuff. I got some questions. We do have our squirrel moments. So I'm going to ask you, what I want to ask you is, who is Robert Garcia? Tell us in detail who you are. Kind of a brief bio for
Yeah.
Robert.
I grew up in a very low income family in Humboldt County. Didn't have a lot as a child. I moved 16 times in my childhood. A lot of my family has been involved in the prison system. Failed out of high school, failed out of two colleges. By 19, I was sleeping on the floor, couldn't afford meat. And so I was starving and I joined the Air Force. And fast forward to today, I'm a 6 degree PhD. I'm the owner of Shift Advanced Life Design Magazine. I'm the CEO of Garcia Global Media and a 17-time author. Um, I pretty much dabble in PR, but essentially what I am is a story and brand augmentor. So when I work with clients, I find out what makes them media worthy. I bring out the best media angle. I create databases for them of media contacts, and then I pitch their story to get them a bunch of interviews. And Mike, you're actually one of my 40 clients that I got on TV. So
Woohoo!
you're living proof, buddy.
Yeah. Well, not just me, but also the daughter too. So we both
Oh
got
yeah.
on the knife making, and like to do that again. But I got some bigger goals like Joe Rogan, Sean Ryan podcast, the Unsub podcast. I got some big goals. I'm still working on it, even though I've rolled back the shop a little bit. It's kind of on pause. I'm only doing commission pieces right now, which I'm working on one right now for one of our local National Guard units for as a retirement piece. They're going to present to the retiree here next month when they retire. So,
So my girlfriend and I were talking about you earlier over lunch,
whoa,
and
whoa, 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 whoa! Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Robert Garcia has a girlfriend. Oh no. Sorry, ladies, he is off the market.
yes,
Sorry.
and she was mentioning that she would love a topaz inset tactical knife with her name on it. And I was curious, can you inset a topaz in a knife?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's a pain in the ass, but we can get it done.
Well,
I
her
mean,
birthday's December 5th, so you have a little
we
time.
got plenty of
And
time. Okay. Are we
I'll
talking tactical, kitchen, keep Robert in line knife?
she did say tactical, but I think honestly we're gonna go for a kitchen.
All right.
Um, but yeah, I'll start saving up now because I know the quality and
I'm
it's not
sure we
cheap.
could. I'm sure we
And
could do some trading. So,
yeah, well, we'll figure it out. We just won't tell her. She's outside right now, so she
okay.
won't hear this. Perfect.
Maybe we'll get her on later on and get some dirt on Robert.
Yeah, there's plenty. Um,
But back to it. I mean, hell, you just kind of just jumped right through some questions. I was going to ask you, what was besides getting out of Humboldt, County, California, which I've been there. I used to haul out of there when I was hauling log trucks. So going through there, just picking up stuff and leaving is a little different. Beautiful area. Love the
yeah,
redwoods. It is freaking gorgeous. Some of the people that I've interacted with, definitely a little interesting. I probably interacted with some of your family, didn't even realize it. That was between 2009 and 2012, a few trips out there. I love coming out 299, Highway 299 into Reading. That is
Mhm.
beautiful. I want to go back out there so bad to go through that fishing along that river. There's a couple of blacksmith, I want to say Victorville. there's a blacksmith shop there that's still running tourist thing. I'd love to go sit there and just kind of drill everything. But so besides getting out of that, what was another motivation to join the Air Force, and why the Air Force? I'm guessing the
Um,
AC and the comfy chair. Sorry,
yeah,
Robert.
my buddy Josh, or not Josh, Damien. My buddy Damien had joined the Air Force, and I saw like the difference in him, all the stuff that it unlocked for him in life. And at that time, like I'd taken the ASVAB, I actually did pretty well at it because I just failed out of DeVry, but I'd done really well on the electronic theory portion of it. So high ASVAB scores, and I just wanted to eat. I was starving. My life was a mess. I'd been kicked out of school. I lost my job. And I wanted to join the military. So I was like, okay, I'm going to join the Air Force. I'm going to see what happens. And then did my time, got my bachelor's degree, moved to San Diego in '02. And then I had two really weird career paths. I was a high school teacher for 5 years, taught engineering despite never having passed pre-algebra or taken my SATs.
High
Um,
school teacher, Rob the teacher. That would have been interesting.
yeah, I was still skateboarding back then. Like I was the coolest teacher ever.
Nice.
Um, and then I got into technical writing, and I did that for a decade for about five different companies and worked my way up. Um, my last year teaching, I joined the reserves and I started my doctorate at the same time because I like doing stuff that's easy. And it's been good this
Been doing
year.
stuff that's easy. Doing a doctorate for it's something easy. Okay. I can't imagine even can comprehend what it would take that. I mean, I've looked at college. I was going to go into more of the automotive and diesel area. I was going to go to college. We moved up to Wyoming for about 4 days, and then we found out that we didn't have our funding, so we had to turn around and come back home, which is actually kind of a good thing because I think 15 years later, that school got a massive lawsuit against them. Um,
Yeah.
at Wildtech, I think it was called. They get so pretty much from what I've read and such, everybody who went there got all their money back. It sounds like, plus the lawyers. So kind of glad we
Yeah.
kind of dodged that bullet a little bit. It would have been fun though, but I picked Wyoming, where the snow blows in from Montana.
Okay. Yeah. I took about 6.5 years and I got it in my dirty little paws by 37, which I'm real proud of. Um, and then I got into entrepreneurship kind of randomly, and I just decided I really had the itch to work for myself. I didn't fit in with other people. I hated cubicles. I just wanted some freedom, man. And so I started doing podcasts, getting on them and getting interviewed because I'm a high school dropout and college dropout turned PhD. And people were like, "Well, what the hell, dude? How did you turn that around? That's
Yeah, I
insane."
definitely would want to know about that.
Yeah, and it was just a matter of changing my learning style, understanding that I'm not analytical, I'm a creative, and I understand things. I understand learning creatively, like drawing, colors, shapes, um, learning at my own pace versus structured classroom lectures and tests and stuff like that. I don't
God, I
really
hate it.
like.
I remember I went to school up till middle school and then homeschool through high school. God, I look back now and like, God, I hated school. I didn't, other than the basic little bit of reading, math, I flunked English everywhere. Um, Science, I did really good, and computers don't even get that. But it was a complete waste of time for me personally. I think we need to start to identify what works better for people. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I had to throw that in there.
No, it's okay, and you're a unique example, Mike, because there's a lot of different types of intelligence, and yours is far more kinesthetic and kinetic. You like working with your hands. You like doing tactical stuff that you can like actually touch and learn by doing. Project based learning. That was what I did my doctoral thesis on. And academics isn't for everybody, and that's why I just went for a easy doctorate in education. I didn't go for like mathematics or like anything like super technical, but um, the point is not every kid is a test taker, and not every kid is going to do an analytical career. You like working with your hands. You became one of the best knife makers in the business, in the industry, because
Mm.
you're a hands-on learner. And you
I'm fairly. I appreciate the comment. I'm fairly good in what I do in the drop point hunter skinners. There's some guys who are I'll have to send you some pictures of some of my buddies. Nate Summers, I've had him on here. I'm going to get him on here so we can go more in depth. He's got one, a blade he just finished, and you're looking at the pattern, the Damascus pattern. You know, we're in Doctor Strange in the mirror universe where they go in there and the glass and it moves everything, the buildings kind of move around. That's
Mhm.
what it looks like when I'm looking at this blade. It looks like the buildings and the pattern shit. It literally
Yeah.
looks like you're falling in the mirror universe. Is that what they call it on shit?
Multiverse.
Yeah, the multiverse. Not the multiverse. That you know, when it looks like glass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that part of it. Um, God, I'm such a nerd. But well, I mean, not really because you got the Iron Man behind you. We'll get into that a little bit of that too. But yeah, he got the helmet too. They actually, if somebody has took one of those helmets that automatically does that, they put it on, it lifts up and it drops down, and they're welding. I'm sure they've had to modify it a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's yeah. I lost my train of thought. I hate that. We call that squirrel moment.
We're talking about working with your hands.
Oh yeah, working with hands. So I'm really good at what I do. I've kind of Dad once told me, he says you've forgotten more than what you know, which sometimes I understand, sometimes I don't. But these guys, it just there's that next level, and me going back to work in the truck, which wasn't really looking for it, but I'm actually there now. I'm kind of like, shit, this is easy. What the hell was I bitching and whining about in my head, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start this winter when it gets colder because it's 90 some degrees out there and 50% humidity. Ugh. In a high desert, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to get into more of the mosaics, but so what you're doing teaching, you did teaching, you're doing that, and you're now in the Air Force Reserves. What part of did that draw you to more to the social media marketing and where you're at now? The visibility, one of the biggest things you preach is visibility, get in on podcasts and everything. Draw what what caught your attention to bring you into that? Sorry, words are hard some days.
That's all right. Um, it's such a good question, Mike. And I'm glad you asked that because um, it wasn't intentional. It was more a series of steps that came together, ingredients, if you will, that became the recipe for the warrior strategist. So I'd landed something like 100 interviews for my story. And I realized like, hey, I can do this for other people. Like I can package up their stories and I can write it up and I can make them interesting. And then I can get a database of journalists and podcasters and reporters and TV producers and get people a lot of interviews. And then I taught myself how to do press releases. Daniel Curry bothered me about it forever. And I put it off in one of the dumbest decisions I've ever made. And then finally I just gave in one day. I'm like, all right, I'll try this, Daniel, whatever. I made tens of thousands of dollars in press release sales. So
Nice.
I will always give it up to Daniel Curry for that amazing idea. And then I founded Shift Magazine 10 years ago. This is our anniversary year. You've appeared in it, Mike.
Yes,
Um,
I'm still waiting on my copy. You know, we'll
yeah.
see.
Well, I will yell at the team members and get it to you. But
Sorry, I just had to say that.
always, I'm just looking around to see if there's an ad here.
I
Yep.
I know you've
Look
been
at that.
busy as
Look at
well.
that.
Ooh, nice.
Yep. Oh,
How's
he's
that
nice.
knife treating you anyway?
Oh, they're all still great. I take care of them. I've got the eraser thing you sent. I scrub off any rust that accumulates, but they're amazing. And thank you
Have
again.
you touched up the edge every now and then with
Yeah,
that, and
yeah.
then take a leather belt and strop it a little?
I give it the maintenance and make sure that
Okay.
they're good to go. They're still nice and sharp. Um, but I started Shift Magazine, and then I started once I started getting some really good results from my clients. I started landing Hollywood level clients. So as you know, I worked with Sean Kanan from Cobra Kai and The Karate Kid. I worked with
Made a
Javon
knife for him.
Quarles from what?
Made a knife for him. Sent it
Oh,
to him.
nice.
So,
I worked with Javon Quarles from Fox World's Toughest Test. They're in their second or third season now. And then Brian Big Country Conwell, one of the best para athletes in the country. So Garcia Global Media really came out in the more in the Hollywood sector in the last year before I left.
gonna say, didn't you appear in a? Can you talk about that now? I think it's out in it. Didn't you? Weren't you like extra on the set of something with Kane? The Sean team?
Yeah, no, I can definitely talk about it. So I ended up
That's
writing a
right.
book with Kate Monroe, congressional congresswoman, Kate Monroe. She was a candidate and ran for Congress. She wrote The Body Man with me, and I published it, and it became a movie. And so I am in the background scene of a dancing scene where Kate was doing the tango with the Body Man, and I'm probably back there in a suit. Now, I haven't. I was gone, so I missed the premiere, unfortunately. But I need to check that out somewhere and see if I'm around.
Cool. How cool is that? A book that you co-authored with got turned into a script and then produced into how's that feel to you as a writer and author?
Honestly, Mike, it feels better than it should because it was my first fiction novel I've ever written. I've always done nonfiction, and this was the very first fiction novel I came up with. Kate gave me the premise and the characters and the general guidance of it, and it was my job to backfill the story, to do character advancement, dialogue, everything. It was a real challenge, but Kate was amazing to work with. She's super creative and very smart. And we both came out with a product that we absolutely love. You can find it at bodymanbook.com. It is a great summer read. It is a big book, but I promise you it's full of action. It is Tom Clancy meets 50 Shades of Grey. It is a
Oh, that's
wonderful
funny.
book, and I'm really, really proud of it.
I wonder where he gets his inspiration for the 50 Shades of Grey. We don't want to know, Rob. We don't want to know. But hey, I forgot to invite when we jumped into this, I forgot. Uh, Before we go any further, let's do a kind of a self promotion of yourself. Where can they find you? Your website, social media, etc.
Rob the Warrior Strategist on Facebook, and then the main website is garciaglobalmedia.com. If you want to read the magazine for free, it's shiftlifedesign.com.
Awesome. Sorry, I should have done that at the beginning. We should try to get that out. I totally spaced it because I was really rehearsing the NPR voice for your introduction. So, um,
Appreciate it. I love NPR voice.
uh, and again, my condolences on your grandmother, who kind of the inspiration behind the NPR because she was used to listen to it when you went up to take care of a few things a few years. God, I can't believe that's been a couple of years ago. So that's the
Yeah.
reason why I did that. And then, of course, we did our weekly meetings and such online with Rob, and I used to catch on sign off for him for that with that voice. So I had to bring that up in here. So.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Every night, just fall asleep to like loud ass AM NPR, and I'm just laying in my bed because I'm in the room next to hers, and just I'm like, how do you sleep to this? It's horrible.
Well, it puts you out, I mean, come on.
Yeah, it
Um,
really does.
what's funny, you got that monotone voice on there that talks and
Yeah,
such. Daisy, who was listening to this one, I can't think of the name of it. This one guy, he just reads articles and he's got this monotone voice. It's just, I mean, if you really listen to it, you fall asleep. It's supposed to help you fall asleep and everything. We went up on the mountain. We stayed in there so she should have phone service so she could talk to her mom. Because if we didn't have phone service, her mom, well, yeah, anyway, that's a long story there. Um, she put this one on about cardboard. And I'm laying at looking at my phone. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to sleep, but I'm so fascinated about the history of cardboard. I mean, it went way back. And I'm sitting there like, I shouldn't be listening to this. This is boring, but I'm fascinated. And he just went through the thing. And I mean, I kind of woke up between as it was going on and such. Anyway, it was a long day of opening elk hunt a few years ago.
yeah,
Um, but I just, yeah, that voice thing was kind of fun. Um, so squirrel moment. Sorry, that's well, we do a lot of that. So let's go and dive in. Like I said, we'll go through the questions here, and then we'll just kind of let it roll. What is Shift Magazine? How did you start it? Tell us about the mission of Shift Magazine.
yeah. So Shift Magazine. Originally, I thought if Tim Ferriss came out with a magazine, what would it look like? If you take the most successful people you could find, deconstruct their processes, you find out what makes them a champion, what makes them an expert athlete, what makes them, a multimillionaire, and how do they think? And I thought that'd be a really interesting premise for a magazine. And so, using speed learning, I taught myself the process of making a magazine 10 years ago. It's been through some different iterations. I hired Air Force artist Richard Hill, and he does all my amazing covers. And then layout, sometimes I bring people in, sometimes I do it myself. We got the ability to print a couple years ago, and I've interviewed a lot of great people. I was really proud of being able to interview Big Country and to tell his story, get it out there.
I need to
Um,
reach out and get him on here as well. I've
yeah,
done some
yeah,
of the
he'll be a
guys from the
great
group.
interview. His story's crazy. But it's I've interviewed. The thing I'm most proud of, honestly, is the caliber of people. So I've interviewed the late Steve Sims. I've interviewed Scott Oldford. I've interviewed Howard Wasden, who also passed away. He's like SEAL Team 6, Mogadishu vet. Dale Comstock, Dr. Dale Comstock, who was like in Delta Force. Legit one of the most intense people I've ever interviewed, and a great guy. But most of all, shift is just about, okay, how do we shift into a better version of ourselves? How do we evolve? How do we ascend to that next level? And that's why I named it what it is, because we have the ability to create the life of our dreams. It's just most people don't want to do the work. And we have the ability, Mike, to choose where we go to school, or who we date, or how much fitness we get, or what we do for a living, all this stuff. So why are so many people unfulfilled? Because they want to live in security. And so if you want to shift upwards, you have to take some calculated risks. You have to figure out what your goal is, what would make you happy, and what, who you need to be, and the work you have to do to get there. So Shift Magazine is just about reinforcing that concept and to bring amazing people into your living room.
Yeah, I like that. And you can read that online for free at
ShiftLifeDesign.com.
awesome. It was awesome. It was I got an article in there. It was pretty cool. I just had a thought. You started 10 years ago doing the magazine. Um, Give me an idea. Tell me, like, without using today's technology, what was that like to do for you? How did you do that? I mean, I'm sitting here trying to figure out how would you have done that 10 years ago because I know you got computers and such like that, but I use a lot of chat GPT. I use AI for writing, coming up with questions, and a few things that some stuff that you inspired for me to use, but I use chat GPT. How did you go about getting that first started?
So the first thing is you have to figure out the process of making a magazine. And essentially, a magazine's a big PDF, the digital version. You use canva.com, design the magazine, you make this big old PDF. Back in the day, I used to use something called PDF Mergy, which would allow you to put a bunch of PDFs together to make a mega PDF. But now with Canva, you could just do the whole thing in one swoop. And then you just have to have a hosting site. And so I just make the magazine on Canva, and then I upload it to the hosting site, and then I upload it to Lulu about a day or two later for a print version. And then we can make sure that people can buy copies of it if they want to.
Well, that sounds pretty easy. The content. I mean, how did you when you first got? Did you just put self content, or did you reach out to people? How did you get your
So
content in there?
it was kind of a grab bag. It was I didn't really have like a structure, and I even now I only have like half a structure. Jared Ledbetter always makes fun of me for not storyboarding the magazine like a year in advance, and I don't know, maybe I'm lazy. But essentially, like the first couple issues were just a design nightmare. I mean, primary colors, awful fonts. Like I was just, learning the process of it, and it wasn't a great looking magazine. It looked like a high school project, and I'm not embarrassed of it, because I look at what I have now, and I'm so proud of like the quality of what Rich Hill brings to the table. And then, the design and layout, and I think it looks a lot better now. Um, but essentially, like your skills get better over time, just like anything else you do media wise. At the beginning, the first couple iterations of it are going to be cringeworthy, and then you get into something that, little improvements over time, you get a good product.
Nice. So let's fast forward today. We got AI, we got ChatGPT, you got Grok, you got Gemini, different other platforms that help build this stuff. I use, like I said, I've discussed before on this show. I use AI for a lot of things. I do a little bit of writing with it. I put in everything in my mind. I just write it out how I see it in my mind. Granted, it probably got not the best word in grammar, but asking it to, hey, put the prompts in, hey, correct for grammar, put it in this, and this. There was like, and I've had a few people, well, you didn't really write that. It's like, well, yeah, I did. I put it in. I just had to instruct it to make it look good. Um,
Yeah.
what is some of your advice that people out there that, like myself, has got that little hang up, and you don't, I don't know, like you say, you don't storyboard it because it's probably easier. You're kind of like me. It's easier to just go out, grab that piece of steel, forge it out instead of drawing it out on a piece of paper. Sometimes I do, but it seems like for you, it's you'd rather be take that time and effort and put it into the product and get it finished and hammered out through that. Does that sound about right?
So AI hasn't played a role in Shift very much yet. And am I going to incorporate? Yeah, absolutely. But usually I have a pretty good, just from the network, I have a pretty good idea who I want to interview, what questions I want to ask. I had a long running series called The Portal where I talked about like how to get the mindset to take yourself from where you're at now to, what your perfect person is, your upgraded person is. And that's the person in the portal looking at you. I've created a lot of content on that. And, but yeah, AI is going to be a game changer for sure. Now that I've incorporated it a lot, and it's worth mentioning. I haven't released an issue. My last one was Aaron Hale in like December of 25, and I took an Air Force assignment for a while that took me out of state. And so,
Your little 4 month vacation.
yeah, and I can't really go into details about it,
Yeah,
but
no problem.
but it was I just had to put everything on hold and I just focused on the mission. I'm really proud of myself for doing it. My grandmother died 2 days before I got back, and then I came back, Mike, and it was like, oh hey, your grandma's dead, your car doesn't work anymore, and your computer completely is dead. And I'm just like, dude, what? Who did I piss off? Like, what happened to deal with all this bullshit? And then I got arthritis of the spine, and
Ooh.
so I was having a lot of trouble with exercise, getting my shoes on. I was in a lot of pain for months, and I'm doing better now, thank God. But it's been a tough road to recovery. But honestly, man, like I'm inspired by people who have been through far worse and succeeded, like Brian Big Country Conwell, Aaron Hale. People that go through a real shit. I just have some back pain sometimes, but that's nothing. So I'm proud of those guys for inspiring me.
Some of the, I know you can't talk about what you did, but on the sides of your off duty and such, you were posting pictures up about Garcia Grill. Do you want to chat
I can
about
talk
that
about
one?
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
The reason why I want to bring that up is to give the listeners the understanding. Okay, question. Even though it's stateside, is that still considered a deployment, or is there a different term for that?
there's some veterans that'll challenge you on that, but it absolutely was a deployment. It
I mean, you were
was
literally 3 or 4 thousand miles away from home, so it's still, well,
yeah, title 10 orders. I got deployment pay. Like it was a full big boy deployment.
nice.
And so I started. What you were asking is when I got there to the spot. It was on the East Coast, and when I got there was no chow hall and there was no MREs, the meals ready to eat. We were given money, afterwards for meals, so they pay us back. But while we're there, we're footing our own bill. There's fast food, and there's literally like almost no place on base to get food. Like there are very few places, and we're like hot and heavy going for it. Supporting Epic Fury. So I was in a hotel. I had two electric burners. I had a kitchenette, and I had like a crock pot and an electric griddle. And I'm like, I have this stuff. Why don't I see if some people will donate? Maybe I can make a meal or two. And in order to keep my sanity, I started just upping the ante and doing it like 3 times a week. And I got into it, man. Every Saturday was like a giant breakfast. I would cook for an hour and a half and deliver food, and then go sleep after working all night. I would make spaghetti, hamburger helper. I made shepherd's pie, Korean spare short ribs. Like I really went all out to try and get the troops some good food, and it was a great experience. I raised like $1,600. I served over 650 meals. Something I'm really proud of.
Nice. And a lot of people will think, well, why can't you just DoorDash? I mean, sounds like from what you said, that area, especially night shift. I mean, and this limited went down. I mean, where you were at sounds like the wasn't all that great for food service on base. I guess you could say if that's where you were. I have no idea. But what would you say to people like that? Well, why can't you just DoorDash stuff? I mean,
Well, first of all, it's very difficult for a lot of delivery drivers to get on base. And we're on a very secured base, fencing, armed guards, the whole nine. And just logistically, it's kind of a pain and it's expensive after a while. So it was far easier for me to just raise donations, and leadership was really great. They donated a lot of money and they're just like, we love what you're doing, keep it up. And then once people found out, like I put all my payment info in the signal, and just officers would come up to me and just throw me $20 and be like, dude, I love this, keep going. And so the dollar store was right down the street, so I was able to get a lot of turkey pans, a lot of food supplies. I was probably shopping a couple times a week, and it also gave me an excuse to get out of my hotel room and be around people, and good for my mental health because I was focused on something outside of me.
Yeah, keep from that sitting there going, dude, stare at the wall, that 1,000 yard stare at the wall kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um, so it did good for your morale, your mental health and everything. How did the morale for everybody else you were with, the other troops? And
dude.
of course, he shaved his fancy mustache off.
Yeah, it was the best feeling in the world when people would get excited when they walk in the door. They'd see the turkey pan. They're like, Garcia, what'd you bring us? And, some things went over really well. Believe it or not, probably the most popular dishes were spaghetti. I did it bolognese style. So that I'd simmer the sauce in my crock pot, and I'd have like onions and chopped up carrots and celery, let it simmer overnight, and then add some spices. So it tasted really well, and throw in some hamburger. Um, Mediterranean salad, like a cold rotini salad with sausage salami and vinaigrette dressing and rotini pasta and olives. Everybody really liked that because it's so hot out there. And then hamburger helper. They really liked hamburger helper. They would completely empty the pan.
Like
Um,
eating at home. A
yeah, and that's what one of the
hamburger
senior airmen
helper is
told me.
awesome, especially when you don't want to do a big meal or the prep cooking for a big meal and such. Just throw this little hamburger, throw that in there, stir it up, water, cook it, you're done. It's
Yeah,
it's the full soul food. That's the word I was looking at. Sorry.
yeah. And then
So
once in a while, I just mix it up and just take in a fruit plate. Like it was just they just wanted grapes and bananas and apples, just all the stuff they couldn't really get, day to day. And my boss, one of my bosses, sounds really odd, but I actually kind of enjoyed it. He wanted beets. He just wanted chopped
ooh,
up beets.
God,
I
beets
was
are
like,
good though,
yeah, dude, I'd
especially
forgotten. It's
pickled
been
beets.
years since I've had beets, and I tried it, and they were
I'll
really
have to send
sweet.
you a jar. I'll get it packaged up. I can package it up. I'll send you some. I think Mom grew some this year, or we got some. I'll send you a bottle of homemade pickled beets,
Yeah,
Mom
man, that'd be
style. So,
great. Thank you.
but
Um, but yeah, it was a great experience, Mike. I was supported heavily, and when you leave, they give you gifts. They give you a pack of cards, and they all sign it. And just a lot of the stuff they said in the cards were really nice, and a lot of it was food related. So I know I made a difference. I know I made people's experiences better. Um, and the one thing I know that a lot of people were in meetings early in the morning. They come out of the meeting and they just been sitting there just dealing with heavy stuff or presenting to people on teleconference, whatever, and they come out and there are like three turkey pans full of scrambled eggs and cheese, green onions, ham, potatoes, sausage, bacon, and dude, the breakfast, the Saturday breakfast, they would just lose their minds. Like those pans would be gone by the time I got to
I
shift.
bet. I bet that was nice, especially probably being yeah fire truck. That's unusual. It must be. It's the 24th of July here in Utah, Pioneer Day they call it. So I don't know if
Yeah,
that has to do with it or something caught on fire. I don't know. Sounds like it's really close too. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Somebody knocks on the door. That would not be fun. Anyway, back to it. So you get home. You walk through the door. I know your grandma passed away again. My condolences. Your computer's dead. Your car's yeah. What did you do to kind of get yourself reset to jump back in, work your way back into, you know, Garcia Global Media? What did you do for your self care? That's the word I was looking for. Sorry.
yeah. I'm still working at it, to be honest with you. It's been a while. I fixed most of my problems, but it was like the first 2 weeks were really, really tough because I was trying to solve a lot of problems on top of cremating my grandmother from 13 hours away. Um, it's just it's tough when you aren't dealing with one problem, you're dealing with like seven of them. But all of it was manageable over time. I just prioritized, racked and stacked, did the best I could. Thank God my back got better, so I wasn't like in insane pain every day. Um, and overall, it's getting better, man. I'm still working on my self care. I'm still working on trying to be happy again. I haven't been like a happy little camper, but I'm doing better for sure.
Did you ever get that trick I sent you, the peppermint oil, lemongrass, and the coconut oil? Mix that up because I'll tell you what, dude, that for a topical pain reliever, even for back problems, because well, it's been like 3, 4 years, going on 4 years since I fell in my root cellar and I threw I threw my sacrum bone out a little bit, which is part of your tailbone. Kind of dislocated that a little bit. All that hurt when they put it back in. But ever
Yeah,
since then, I hit so hard I bruised the bone because it took probably 9 months for just to be able to sit down without it hurting, without sitting on a butt pillow.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that stuff, and then it jostled up my upper back. I get this twinge around. I'll tell you what, that stuff has only got me through that first winter, and it was awesome. So that's lemongrass, peppermint oil, mixed in some coconut oil as a carrier. Wonderful stuff. You'll thank me later.
yeah. Love it.
Actually, I learned that trick. We learned that trick from a National Guard guy here locally that had started getting arthritis and carpal tunnel and such. He was telling us about that. So shout out to our local National Guard, the Triple Deuce. Um, so what steps? I mean, you've been gone for what? Damn, it seemed like 6 months. So what steps are you taking right now to get the gears rolling, back for Shift Magazine, get your PR going again, get back to being Robert Garcia?
Yeah, I'm just getting into strategic planning. I'm thinking, what do I want the rest of 2026 to hold? Who do I have to reconnect with? I mean, I essentially gave up all my contacts, gave up the entire business. I haven't done any business stuff for since I left, and it's it's been a little rough, like trying to pick up where I was at and trying to figure out like next steps. But you sit down, you read some business books, you take some graph paper, you go outside, you go to the coffee shop, you have the strategy sessions. You're like, okay, what's the next step? Is it marketing? Is it ads? Is it reaching out to your 10 most richest friends? Reaching out to your warm leads? Like, how do you resume something that is completely in your head? There's no boss. There's no tangible business plan or strategy. Like I literally have to just start everything over and jump back in the pool. So it's a little bit of a learning curve, but I had a win. Like coming back immediately, I was hired by somebody, the Batman tour, got him on Fox and KUSI
I seen
with
that. I seen
the
that.
Batman themed
Congratulations.
news thing. Thank you. It was a 40th client on TV, so that was a huge win.
Nice. So, one of your biggest things you preach, we talked about earlier, is visibility. What does that mean? Visibility in what? Well, I mean, be visible. What business? Your person, your brand? Because, well, like myself, I am the brand. I'm brand of the
Yeah.
Behind the Anvil, the American Bladesmith, Mike Smash's Knives LLC. Even though I rolled that back some, and it's helped me out going back driving. It's helped me out a lot more than I thought it would. So, but what does the visibility mean?
Visibility means, first of all, that you're seen in a couple different places. So it's not enough to just be on Facebook. You should be on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, whichever social media platforms are best for your business model. So if you're selling goods, then you need to be on picture-based platforms like Instagram, Pinterest, and TikTok. And if you're selling services, you need to be on conversation-based platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, and then TikTok as a driver and Twitter as a driver, just to drive traffic to your stuff. Um, you should be going to business meetings in your area. You should be getting on the news. You should be issuing press releases, writing business articles. It sounds like a lot, but I mean, shit, if you want to be like, the best in your industry, if you want to be someone that's omnipresent, it does take work and you do have to be in a lot of places. You can't just put all your eggs in one basket.
And that's kind of, and I took that advice to heart too. And I put out there, feelers for trying to get on news and local radio and such, which it did work on some. But when it started stopping, I'm like, be visible. What would Robert do? So I started my own YouTube channel, built it up. We're up to 352 subscribers now, which is really
Great.
cool. That's within the last year, honestly. We did behind the Beat the Smith episode. We did three of those. It was fun. And that's another reason why I started the podcast to help. I used to open up, I used to, interest, but we did a quick live read ad for, Mike's Mass Knife, blah, blah, blah. That's what we offer. I forgot to do that earlier. That's all right. There are plenty others in here. We can dab it in if I want to edit it in later.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of some of my inspiration um, to get the podcast going, do the YouTube stuff. Right now, where I went back to driving for a local company hauling coal, hauling double wagons, fully loaded on about 129,000 pounds. So it's been kind of nice to grab gears again. Didn't ever thought I'd hear myself say that, but it's been good, and it's been good for my. It's starting to think creative thinking again,
Yeah.
and taking a break from having to do the videos, the reels and such. And with Facebook for what I do is very hard because all of a sudden we were doing really, really good. About February of this year, everybody that's in my line of work of knife making, all of a sudden their pages started getting, we're not recommending your pages. Some of your content goes against our stuff. Facebook started basically shadow banning us. So it's been kind of nice for the break, but getting into it, when you're working with a client or you're interviewing a client, what are some of the dumbest things you've seen or just mistakes small business owners make they shouldn't do? And what advice would you give them to avoid it?
One of the things I've seen is people want to be famous overnight, and that's not how it works. You got to have a steady climb. You're not going to get on Fox News tomorrow unless you're paying off a producer. I mean, that's just the bottom line. You're not that interesting usually. Um,
I hear that a lot.
it's
No.
it's a gradual climb, and this is why, like, we all know Ted Fox, right? Mechanic in Texas. He Marine. His garage was almost invisible. He had almost nothing happening, and I started him off with an article in Shift. I issued a press release about his company. We developed some of his client success stories, some of the amazing classic cars he's made, and we developed a couple stories around what he works on. And then an article about him went viral on Newsbreak, which was spectacular. And he started getting interviews. He got in Poncho Perfection magazine, which is like a Pontiac magazine. They interviewed him and featured him like 7 times. Like, it just went nuts. And then he got in Wheel Time, which is a giant car show on YouTube. All of this happened because Ted was willing to be patient and to listen to what I said, and he followed directions implicitly like a good Marine. And he got record breaking web traffic. His phone was ringing off the hook. He got a lot more business. He even launched his own magazine, Hot Rodder Monthly. And so the lesson here is, don't be impatient. Even if you got to start off slow with just a couple things in a month, you know, you need buildup. You need a couple of small wins before you can crack one of those big wins and get like someplace crazy, like nationwide. Um, I've gotten a client on TMZ. I've got a documentary featured in Annapolis. And she was also featured in like the largest newspaper on the East Coast, like the Northeast Coast, one of the biggest magazines in the region. And so all of that happens because you build the foundation. You start off with a little interview, a couple of business articles, a press release. But I've got this process when I work with people where I start them off and I build them up, gradual release, and then that's when they start getting the big interviews.
Nice. Yeah, that's kind of the general of my questions I had, but we're just going to kind of open the floor it. So, last Friday I did had Bradley, Bradley,
Yeah.
um, BC Custom Rods LLC. Shout out to Brad because we did an episode last week. When I was running, I stopped at the local gas station, grabbed a drink, and I noticed there was a guy who was wearing a shirt called Valor Atomics. Well, Valor Atomics has built and running right now about an hour drive from where I'm at. They're testing here in Utah a nuclear reactor. I'll send you some stuff on it. You ought to watch it. It's really cool. And I looked and I was like, I'll bet that guy works there. And I was going to go, no, I was gonna leave him alone, go get my shit and leave. I'm like, no, wait a second, stop, take a second, go introduce yourself, have a little conversation. And I kind of formed the podcast. Hey, take that chance to have that conversation. You never know where it's going to lead. And I was sitting and visited with him for a few minutes. Kind of made him nervous at first because, well, he works with a nuclear power plant, basically. So,
Yeah.
um, but I gave him a business card and I was trying to work my way in to get a tour of that, see if I can get the CEO of that company. The guy's 26 years old and is a startup nuclear reactor company. Their plan is to manufacture these nuclear reactors at a plant, ship them to the site, and put them together within a month or two and up and rolling. It's really cool. Uh, I've been hearing about this mini nuclear reactor technology for the last 20 years on Coast to Coast AM, different radio programs in the past. And this guy finally did it. I mean, he dropped out of high school. It seems to be a theme that people are doing really successful shit. Yeah, drop out of high school, like yourself, you know. So he's taught himself coding, and he started writing code for like a hedge fund company. Again, I'll send you the interview he had with Sean Ryan, which is a podcast I'd love to see you on someday. Um, but to see where he had gone, and I sit there and listen to all his story and such, and I look at my story, it's like, damn, have I really accomplished it? Which I have. It's just like, damn, I could have probably done a little bit more if I put my shoulder to the wheel and the nose of the grindstone, if that makes any sense. But me and Brad got talking about stuff. We got talking about the nuclear and everything, and then we talked about data centers and then water. And the last couple of days, I put the stuff over on TikTok. I cut them in clips. I don't know if you've seen it. It's the same stuff I do on X posts there. Um, People are losing their damn minds. It's hilarious. And one thing I don't engage them because it's really not worth your time to sit there and argue with people that's making comments that did no research or have any clue what they're really talking about.
Yeah.
One thing I like to use is, well, your technique. Thank you for the views, and just put it all in, you know, abbreviate it basically. That drives people absolutely insane. So if you gotta interact with them, you just tell them thank you for the views because more people comment, more of the people like it, regardless if it's they hate it or whatever, it gets it out there more. So that one video has got over 1,000 views within 24 hours because of those comments. I just thought I'd share that with you.
Nice.
So how did you come up with the thank you with the views?
It's just a nice way of being passive aggressive because ultimately you don't want to get in these long, drawn out, back and forth with idiots. And I just a lot of times will thank them or leave the acronym for thank you for the views, and that really pisses them off because they don't know what that means.
Yes.
And dumb people will keep responding, which is fun. And that
I
just
had
helps the
I
algorithm.
had one person figure it out.
Yeah,
One person. The other person, like, thank you what for the venom, and they because they were anti-Trump, anti. And it's like, oh, just go away. I'm so sick of it. I don't even. I haven't been on Facebook other than wake up or in the bathroom or something for a few minutes. It's been nice to get that little break. It's hilarious. Um, I got a quick. I'm curious. What are you? And I don't know if you've seen a lot of the controversy of data centers and such like that. When we've already got data centers, we got some very large ones, but they're trying to add more. There is a need for it. I think they're trying to grow them a little too fast, especially where the power grid is not there or the power generation to help fuel them. What are your thoughts on the new data centers? Plus, personally, and maybe as a Air Force person, what do you think?
every story I've read about them has been negative, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's true though. Um, I think that they spring them on people, and I feel that they need to do more as far as research and zoning. Um, I don't agree with the idea of kicking people out of their house or seizing their houses through eminent domain. Um,
Agreed.
and people should definitely have a say in it, whether they want a data center in their neighborhood or not, just because of noise, possible environmental hazards. There's a lot of factors to consider besides obviously overconsumption of electricity. But I'd have to do more reading about it, Mike. This is why you never hear me like talk about it on Facebook because honestly, I haven't done enough reading on it. Just whatever the idiots are passing over in memes and Alex
It-
Jones speak.
yeah, right. It's quite entertaining. They were trying to build a 40,000 acre one in northern Utah in Box Elder County, which part of that area is pretty much just kind of just sagebrush.
Yeah,
But there's not a whole lot of we're in a big drought. One of the main things they try to use to cool it is water because it's cheap. There's other ways to cool them, but it's more expensive. And that's where these mini nuclear reactors are kind of looking targeting for that is to help power them because you come in, you set up the ground. Once the ground's completed, they come in and build the reactor, set up for the within months they're generating power for the AI or the data centers it's going to be for AI. It's going to be for anything else. But there's definitely a military aspect to it too. I was watching the Unsub podcast. One of the guys talking about it says if our chips ever get cut off from overseas by China or whoever, we could literally go like mine these data centers for the chips to make rockets out of to a certain point. Well, I thought that was kind of funny. But
yeah,
I just kind of curious on your thing. The me's and everything. It's just like people just making comments out of their ass. It's hilarious. So
yeah. That's the internet. Everyone gets an opinion, unfortunately.
right, it's entertaining, but yeah, I try not to interact with them. I actually deleted one off my YouTube because it was bad. I had to delete it, and I don't like deleting it. But when it's bad, I'm sure you've had some. You're like, no, goodbye. I interviewed a gentleman, Josh. He works with Dragon City. I need to get you guys hooked up too. He's a son of a veteran. His dad ended up suicide by cop. I'll send you the link of that interview. You got to listen to that part. I didn't expect it to go there, but one of the comments on there, and I won't give what it said. It was pretty nasty, but it was like, wow. Um, what do you do? I mean, other than say thank you and pass it, so or delete them for yourself, what do you do to basically ignore those kind of comments?
Um, Sometimes I just delete them because the funniest part is to ignore them because that's what they want. Obviously, is a reaction and attention, and to know that they got under your skin. Deleting their comments with no response is hilarious because they'll go back and they'll look and they'll be like, "What the heck happened?" And it kind of shows them that they aren't important enough to respond to.
That's awesome. And that takes a lot too, because there's sometimes I get oh, I'm going to be a dick. And then I catch myself typing stuff out. It's like, you know what? Let's be a bigger dick, not reply. Let's not feed their little dopamine drip of responding. It sometimes can be hard, but these comments were hilarious. I'll send you a screenshot of some of the off the TikTok. Good Lord.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. TikTok's got some really crazy people.
Especially some of the stuff you've mentioned in the group chats about Reddit. Now that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Reddit is should be studied behaviorally. Some of the people are just out there.
I got on there for a little bit. I found it no value for what I was doing because it's funny when people try to tell me what I'm doing it completely wrong. I don't know what I'm doing. I've been doing it for 30 years on specializing in what I specialize. I mean, there's a lot of different knife making out there. It's just funny as hell. It's like, okay, you guys, I don't know if Reddit's the circle jerk of idiots that just talk shit on there or what. But it didn't work for me. Well, Harry, that's the question. So, social, I mean, being on all social media, do you need to be everywhere or certain? I would have to curtail this for your specific industry.
Yep.
What's the way you choose which social media you need to be on when it comes to setting up your business?
Just like I said, tailor it after your business model. If you're putting up a lot of pictures, you want the picture-based things. If you're tailoring services, you have to have conversations with people. You have to get them on a Zoom call to make that sale. So services are LinkedIn and Facebook, and then goods are Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok.
LinkedIn, what is that more geared for?
LinkedIn is more filled with business professionals, but a lot of times, they do need stuff. So it's more professional networking. But I always say LinkedIn is where fun goes to die. So if you have a sense of humor, you'll actually stand out because a lot of the LinkedIn content is just boring.
Yes, it is. I've done stroll through. I don't do. I'm on there, but I don't do anything on there. But it's like you said, it's where fun goes to die. Speaking of fun, what does the Rob do for fun?
These days, I lift weights, I read books, and play Xbox. I start playing Starfield, and it's incredible. Just really nerdy stuff, man. Stick to myself and hang out with my girlfriend sometimes, and just I don't know, just coming back to my life and Iron Man comic books.
Go running on the beach, chase the seagulls around. Do you do
Getting
any
there.
fishing at all? Do you ever go out
No,
and do fishing?
no.
Why not?
I just hasn't really popped up.
Maybe you ought to give it a try. Go out and do some deep sea fishing.
Maybe that might be a good idea for me.
It'd be kind of cool to get your report on that. Any articles you're starting on now that you want
Still
to talk
making
about or
the
want to share?
table of contents and the skeleton for the next issue of Shift magazine. Um, Definitely going to do a portal article. Definitely going to talk about just the deployment and what I learned from it.
I was just going to ask you about that. I'd love to, definitely love to read that. Oh, God, there was one other one I was going to back up. I'm trying to formulate the question in my head. Writing, back to writing. Doing your Kindle books, your little 5, 6 page. Now, you've done a couple of those. I've got one. I'm not sure if I ever sent it to you. Have you? I think I sent it to you like right before you shipped out. So if you ever, I'll send it to you again and get your input on it from somebody. Mine's basically I thought how to get into bladesmithing for $1,000 or less or something like that, under 1,000.
Nice.
I don't. Yeah, when I sent it to you, I think we were getting all of a sudden, boom, you're gone for a month. So I'd love to get your input on that. Tell us a little bit about that. And you've done like 3 or 4 of them or more, and how you got them
Um,
published.
just ebooks, and then I use Lulu.com to print paperbacks. But I've written a lot of books. I've published for other people. I have a publishing company. So yeah, it's I've always enjoyed writing, and ebooks were a good start. Just to teach general business practices and to help veterans that are just coming into the space and not really sure like where to get started.
Nice. So no, I've done it for myself. Like I said, for getting the bladesmithing. I thought about putting it on eBay. I just got to get it. I just got to get there. I just need to get some people to actually read it, and then hey, did you understand it? Did it make sense to you? What do I need to edit? Nobody. The only comment I got back was, "Well, this needs to be a novel." I like reading novels. Well, this is not a novel. This is 5 chapters, basic to this, and the last chapter is resources.
Yep,
Um,
that's
And it's
plenty.
like, she's like, well, it needs more. It needs pictures. I'm like, you're not my target audience. She's a great gal, but it was just kind of funny. A couple people said, yeah, it made sense, but I never really got that actual feedback. Um, when you're writing that, when you're doing that for feedback or getting people to edit it, how do you get that done for yourself?
I just make an outline. I ask people like, hey, what would you like to learn about, or what would I have a general topic, and so I'm like, what 3 to 5 things would you like to learn about in this topic? What would benefit you? And then I take some inputs, and then I start creating content. And now with ChatGPT, it's much easier.
Yes, that's what I used to write it too. Um, Never thought about doing the outline of content. That's good advice there. So, um, hell, I think that's pretty much all my questions. So, other than that, how you been, Rob?
I'm getting better.
Good.
I'm grateful for the support of my friends like you, Mike, and grateful to come on the show today. But overall, whatever you're going through, reach out to your friends. Don't fight your battles alone. There's a lot of people out there that want to see you win, regardless of what you feel in your personal life. I've been through it this summer. Not gonna lie, but I'm a lot happier now and
Nice.
pain free. That's huge.
Yes. I'm telling you, that mixture I sent, yeah,
Yep.
10 drops of peppermint. Depending on how strong you want it, somewhere between like 5 and 10 drops of lemongrass. Lemongrass is a little more potent, can burn your skin if you get sensitive skin,
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna quit beating you up about Air Force. Oh, question about when you first got into the Air Force and basic training, what was that like for you coming out of where you were into that structure?
It's like going to prison, and everyone thinks the Air Force is soft, but when you're 21, you've been up for over 24 hours. You're on a bus, and you're going through a main gate. There's two guys with machine guns there, and there's barbed wire topped over fences. You get to your barracks at like 4 in the morning, and then everything is just terrifying. And the first couple days are rough. You're acclimating. Your entire day is structured. There's no free time. You're told what to do every minute of the day. You're constantly yelled at for doing stupid stuff. And back when I went, I'm not going to lie, it was probably a lot easier than most kids because I'm old. It was only 6 weeks. And so I'd been out on my own a couple of years, so I wasn't as we'll say sensitive as a lot of the kids. I wasn't homesick at all. There were guys like crying in their pillows and really like losing their minds, and I was just like, this sucks, but it's not like I don't know. My life and my childhood were a lot worse, and I get to eat, so it's not too bad. But yeah, it was a great experience. I've never regretted it. It gave me the life of my dreams. And it's a great lifestyle for anyone that is thinking about joining. It gave me a lot of technical training, a lot of degrees, the ability to have whatever kind of life I wanted. So, highly recommend if you need that upgrade.
Nice. And now you're in the reserves, and what exactly does the reserves do? I mean, is that just like call up here, or is that you work all the time? I never understood what the reserves.
Yeah, so I do the 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks in the summer, and essentially I have to be combat mission ready, ready to deploy or fulfill a mission requirement all anywhere in the world on 48 hours notice. And it's a lot of computer based training. It's shots, medical, dental, pretty much being as qualified as active duty with 136th the amount of time to do it. But it's been a great life. I've been in the reserves for 21 years and still got a few left in me, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
How much longer you think you're going to be in?
3 to 5.
35?
We'll see. Yeah,
Nice.
studying for my next stripe right now.
To your what?
Studying for my next stripe, my next promotion.
Okay, what would that be?
Uh, it, Whenever it happens, it would be my seventh stripe, so I'd be a senior master sergeant.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So, you ever thought about going back and maybe doing the DI?
Oh no, no, I have no
Oh,
patience.
that would be funny as hell
I
to see
love my
you as
life.
a. That would be cool though to see you in that role. It really would. I'm not gonna lie.
Nah, that's a young man's game. I'm gonna be 50 next month, dude. I'm not
God
messing
damn,
around
you're
with
that old
teeny kids.
already? Oh,
Oh yeah, yeah.
so what are we doing for the big 5-0? Dressing all in
Probably,
black and having a funeral?
probably a party or something. Clutching my
Nice.
chest, falling into the cake. Who knows?
Just as long as you don't have a stripper in the cake and she, God, did you ever hear about that story? I can't remember where it was, but they had a stripper that ended up, ba- she died in it, and so it was a horrible story. So don't do that.
Okay,
Um, God, I can't
good
remember where
advice.
that was. I remember listening to that years ago. I don't know if it was real or what, but they ended up the stripper suffocated within the cake.
Nice. All right, Mike. Well,
Well,
thank you
I
very
think we're
much.
about it there, bud, for you. Real
Yeah,
quick,
man.
um, shout out some advice and words of wisdom from the Robert Garcia.
Um, just whatever you're working towards, apply everything towards it. Like really focus on building the life of your dreams and realize that you're a lot more capable than you think you are. All of us have doubts. All of us have hesitations and reservations about our own abilities, but you absolutely have the ability to win. You just got to find the tools and the people to make it happen.
Nice. Another quick question.
Yep.
Gotta say it. DC versus Marvel.
Marvel.
Okay. I like them both, but I'm special, not just because my mommy said so. But anyway, hey, don't forget to drop your tagline now.
Stay famous.
Yep, exactly. Stay
Here we
sharp,
go.
America. And remember, there's only one King. That's Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Have a great one. Dr. Garcia, drop your social media real quick where they can find you again.
GarciaGlobalMedia.com.
Awesome. And we'll catch you on the next one.
All right. Thanks, buddy.